Hey guys, welcome back to the Subjective Podcast. I'm your host, Danielle, and today we have a very special guest. But before we get into that, I figured we would do a little episode pre-gaming, so catch up a little bit, talk before we get into all of the good stuff. So if you missed my last episode that I posted 2 weeks ago, we did part one of this Black History mini series where it was very much classes in session vibes with my boyfriend, where we talked about pivotal figures in Black history that you probably never heard of because they were left out of our textbooks. So if you haven't watched that already, trust me, it is so good. We both learned so much. I'm going to link it in the show notes. So watch that after you watch this episode. I also just dropped a new Substack series called The Director's Cut, where I do a little bit of behind the scenes. I break down the episode a little bit more. I share insights, outtakes, a shit ton of resources, and some of the moments that didn't make the final cut. So please give it a read, subscribe to my Substack, and get new posts emailed directly to your inbox. I'm also going to link that. Thank you guys so much for the support and the engagement with every episode so far. But I do want to hear like a little bit more feedback. So if you do love the podcast, make sure that you share it. Don't keep it to yourself. Hit the like button, leave a comment, share it with your friends, and most importantly, leave a rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Of course, 5 stars, but whatever you have to say, just say it with your chest. That'll work. Anyways, it really helps more people find the show, and it helps me keep bringing you guys episodes. So let me know also what kind of episodes or topics you guys would like to hear about on the podcast. Leave that in the comments. You can DM me, whatever works best for you. And as always, follow at The Subjective Pod on Instagram and TikTok. That's where all of the good stuff happens. I love talking to everyone in the comments, and I post just about every day. All right, now that we're all set, we've caught up, we've had a quick little chit chat, let's get into this episode. It is going to be so good. Honey, welcome back.
I'm back in this thing.
Are you excited?
Hell yeah, I want to learn some new stuff today.
This is going to be your last episode for a while.
Why?
Because I want to give you a break.
Okay.
But you've been a great guest.
I appreciate it, I appreciate it.
Do you know what we're talking about today?
I don't think we're talking about people today.
We're not. We're actually talking about the best fucking clapbacks in Black history. Okay? We're talking about all of the Black resistance or the movements, all of the pettiness that was for a cause. Mm-hmm. So I want you to think about this. Based on what you know, what is the pettiest form of a protest in Black history that you've heard of or that you remember?
The most petty? Well, I don't know if this is... I don't think it's petty at all, but like what's going on now, how nobody's going to Target and shit. Mm-hmm. Like I think it could be petty, but it's definitely for a cause. So I actually like it.
So you think it's a good clapback?
Yeah.
I think so too. I actually seen something, and I can't remember the exact number, but it was talking about their like decline in revenue since they got rid of their DEI programs, and it was a significant amount.
Yeah, I'm happy.
So, okay, that's a good one. Well, we're going to talk about a few, and there were so many, as always, but I picked out the ones that I thought were the best. They were the pettiest, they had the biggest impact, and they were the ones I felt the strongest about.
Okay.
Now, we have to start off really strong because it is only fitting. One, because we kind of talked about it in the last episode, but also I want to preface this by saying this one is somewhat in our textbooks, but not all the way.
Okay.
And so back in 1955, there was a master class in strategic clapbacks,
Mm.
which was the Montgomery Bus Boycott. You ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so the Montgomery Bus Boycott was one of the most powerful and economically effective acts of resistance in the civil rights movement. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously we talked about Claudette and Rosa, who were like, I'm not fucking giving up my seat and I'm not going to the back of the bus. My feet hurt. I'm tired. I don't have time. We also talked about how when Claudette did it, they weren't really ready to put forth a big movement in response to that. So they needed some time to plan, come up with a strategy, and there's where Miss Rosa came in. So I feel like I always knew, obviously there was some planning, but when I was doing my research is when I learned how like strategic, well organized, and just planned out that this whole movement was, and how I don't know if they're obviously they did it for a reason and they wanted to end the segregation on the buses, but I'm not sure if they were thinking about how hard it was going to hit the economy in Montgomery. And essentially, that was what forced Montgomery to give in to their demands. And so the protest lasted 381 days, which is
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
over a year. And that is mind blowing to me. So, just to give a little background, so Montgomery, Alabama, they had very strict segregation laws. So, blacks were essentially forced to sit in the back, and if their white section on the bus filled up, then the black people would have to give up their seats or be arrested. And so the black passengers on the bus actually made up about 75% of bus riders. So public transportation essentially depended on them. And I didn't look this up, but I should have. I didn't look up how much every like bus ride cost, but I'm sure it was not that much, like
Yeah.
maybe like a couple dollars. And so obviously like racial violence and humiliation on buses was very common at that time, and black people were usually routinely like harassed, they were assaulted or even arrested just for sitting their asses down. And so we talked about Claudette. She was 15. She refused to give up her seat in March of 1955. And then 9 months later, Rosa Parks came in. They decided to use Rosa as kind of their use case to spark the movement. And shit popped off. So on December 1st, 1955, that was when Rosa Parks was arrested. And so that's what triggered the boycott after she refused to give up her seat to a white passenger on the Montgomery City bus. And she was not physically tired, as some myths suggest. So there's been some things where people were like, oh, she was tired, she just didn't want to go. She actually later said, the only tired I was tired of giving in. Period.
She said, I got something for y'all.
She said she had time today. And so her arrest was chosen as the catalyst for action because she was well respected. She was a secretary for the NAACP, and she had the right image to gain sympathy from the media. So on December 5th, which was just a few days after her arrest, the boycott begins. And so the Montgomery Improvement Association was formed to coordinate the boycott, and Dr. King was chosen as its leader. And the black community essentially organized alternative transportation. So they had carpools, and over 300 private cars were organized to pick up and drop off people. They had black taxis, which charged the same 10 cents. That's what the fare was. Yeah. 10-cent fare as buses to support boycotters. And walking became a form of resistance. And some people walked miles daily to work rather than give in. First of all, you know how big I am on getting my steps in. I know that they weren't counting their steps at the time. But have you ever seen the movie, I think it's called A Long Walk Home?
I heard of it. I've probably seen it, but I don't
We're
remember.
gonna watch that, but it's during this time, and there's this one woman, and she is walking like miles to work, but they had to wear their little loafers because
Hmm.
and so they were walking to work in these loafers. It could never be me. Like they didn't have
Walking in
Hokos.
some loafers for mile. Yeah, I know they had blisters. I wouldn't have got up either then.
Yeah. Yeah, that's insane. It says that the participation was nearly total, like all black people. They stopped riding buses overnight, and the city's transit system lost 30 to 40,000 fares per day.
Mm.
And that is actually so crazy that they literally got every single black person on board, because at that point you would have looked crazy if your
Hmm.
black ass was on that bus.
Hmm. And they probably like shamed you on the low.
And
And
that's what we mean, Kevin, when we say all skin folk ain't kinfolk, because those few people that kept riding the bus, they wasn't with us. They were not like
yeah,
us.
they ain't down.
And so by January of 1956, so now we're at the next year because this was in December, that's when the retaliation begins. So the city and white officials started trying to fight back, which the thought of that is crazy. So what do you mean fight back? You just were going to try to force me to ride the bus? Like, anyway, so the police began arresting black drivers for minor traffic violations to disrupt the carpools. The insurance companies canceled policies for carpool drivers. Black leaders, including Martin Luther King, were arrested on like fucking bogus charges. And then that's when some of the bombings began. So Martin Luther King's house was bombed on January 30th, 1956, while his wife and baby were inside. And then there were other churches and homes of black leaders that were also targeted. I cannot imagine saying your black asses need to sit at the back of the bus or get arrested. So they stop riding the bus and you go and fucking bomb their houses.
Yeah, they gonna
And
force
you think
that.
that's going to be make them think, "Oh, let me get back on the like
Right.
you like make it make sense, LJ." Like
I don't know, bro.
I just want to know the thought process. Like what fucking lunatics had that thought process, cuz it's insane.
Like, yeah, they can't. They can't goddamn sit where they want to sit at. All right, so they got off the bus. Then they bump. Yeah, that's nuts, bro. That's nuts.
Couldn't even get their steps in peace.
And they loafers.
Yeah. So now we're at the summer of 1956, where the boycott is holding strong. So despite the intimidation and people trying to force them to ride the bus, black residents refused to ride the buses.
That's what the hell I'm talking about.
Exactly. And Montgomery's bus company was literally in crisis at this point. Their revenue had dropped over 60%, and they essentially had to start cutting routes. Like they didn't have enough money to support the different bus routes. And white business owners started pressuring the city because fewer black people on buses meant fewer black people shopping downtown.
Damn, so it like trickled down to
Yeah, it was a
they
trickle
asses
effect.
been mad as hell.
But it's crazy that the only reason that the white business owners even cared was because it was losing them money.
Yeah,
They didn't really.
yeah, it ain't no like morale
Yeah.
behind it. Nah, that's nice.
But I actually was thinking about when I was reading this about like the economic part, because Maddie had did like a post, I think it was on Threads, when people were talking about like boycotting Target, and she was talking about like how, because people were it was like when the Tabitha Brown thing came out, and she essentially was telling people like, yeah, don't shop at Target, but just go and support the black businesses. And Maddie was talking about, Maddie, if she's watching this, I hope I'm not misquoting her, but she was talking about how during the bus boycott, it wasn't, you couldn't pick it. People weren't picking and choosing,
Yeah.
like some black people were riding the bus and some, like, no, every single person had to do it. And you couldn't say, oh, let me just ride the bus of the black bus drivers. And she
Yeah.
was talking about how every person, even the black people, because the whole thing with Tabitha Brown was like, she didn't say this, but like she was going to lose money. And Maddie was essentially saying like everybody had to make
Yeah,
sacrifices.
you gotta buy in, bro.
Yeah, like there were people who lost money, people's houses got bought. Like you couldn't just say, oh no, let me ride it because of XYZ. Anyway, so now we're at June 5th of 1956, and a federal district court ruled that bus segregation was unconstitutional. And Montgomery appealed the ruling to the Supreme Court.
I'll be down.
As they're losing a bunch of money, they still went to appeal it. And I was like, what would even possess that? If it's unconstitutional, meaning that segregating the buses is not something that's allowed based on the Constitution, what would make them then think, I'm going to appeal this?
Yeah.
And so I was reading about it, and it was talking about how essentially like southern states, they would find legal loopholes, they would manipulate the system and just essentially defy federal authority whenever they could. And they resisted federal intervention in like their racial hierarchy and used the states' rights and legal procedures and strategic violence to maintain segregation. Because if it was unconstitutional for there to be segregation, I was confused on like how they.
How can you appeal?
Yeah, exactly. And so they go to the Supreme Court in June. In November 13th, the Supreme Court essentially upheld the lower court's ruling that bus segregation violated the 14th Amendment, which the 14th Amendment was designed to grant citizenship, equal protection, and due process of law to formerly enslaved people and all persons born or naturalized in the U.S. So the court ruled that segregation did not oh, wait. Oh. Wait. I think I just confused myself. I gotta start that part over.
You was doing good. You got it. Come on. Because you was on one. And I think my legs hot for real.
Oh, okay.
Know what to happen. Lay down, shot. Lay down.
Okay. So we're back at November 13th, 1956. The Supreme Court upheld the lower court ruling that bus segregation violated the 14th Amendment, which was designed to grant citizenship, equal protection, and due process of law to formerly enslaved people and all persons born or naturalized in the U.S. And so I was looking up more into the 14th Amendment and like what it said, because I still was not understanding like how, if this is in the 14th Amendment, like how were they finding the loopholes? And it was talking about like how the Supreme Court had previously made segregation legally acceptable in the precedent of 1896. It was the Plessy versus Ferguson case, which introduced the doctrine of separate but equal. And I was like, separate but equal. So I did more research into that, and essentially separate but equal means you can have segregation. So you can have a black school and a white school, but they have to still have like the same resources, all of the same things. So you could have, a black restaurant and a white restaurant, but they still had to get the equal treatment essentially, which obviously was not the case. So we get to December 20th of 1956. So now we're almost a year later. And after 381 days, the boycott officially ended when federal orders arrived demanding Montgomery to desegregate its buses. On December 21st, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, and other black citizens boarded the Montgomery buses and sat wherever the fuck they wanted to sit.
That's what the hell I'm talking about. It's just One, I think it was effective because they really stuck to the shit for a year. And some
That's a
change.
long time. I can't even stick to a workout routine for a year.
But that's real power, bro. Like, yeah, we ain't doing none of that shit for until we get what we want from it. And
Yeah.
everybody do it. That's real power. That's real power, bro.
Yeah. I was looking more into like some of the sacrifices that black people made, and obviously like walking miles every day in extreme heat and cold. Like they went through all of the seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of them even lost jobs. They were fired by like their white employers for participating. They faced the violence. Their homes were bombed, and then obviously like harassment from police. And then when it comes to the financial part, it was literally almost an economic shutdown that forced them to essentially listen. So the transit system lost nearly $3,000 per day, which totaled hundreds of thousands in lost revenue. The city increased fares to try to offset the losses, but white residents weren't enough to like keep the system afloat. Yeah.
Okay. I love this.
Yeah. White business owners saw their sales plummet because black customers could no longer get downtown easily. And it says like the financial devastation to the city is what ultimately like pushed the government and businesses to demand a resolution.
They'll do it about some money.
Yeah.
They'll do something about some money, huh?
Do you want to hear some final thoughts? So, first of all, the Montgomery Bus Boycott was the first large-scale successful civil rights protest, and it essentially set the stage for future movements. And that's actually what launched Dr. Martin Luther King into like national leadership. He became the face of the civil rights movement. And it obviously proved the economic power of black people, showing that boycotts and economic pressure could be an effective form of resistance. And it also inspired future protests, including the Greensboro sit-ins and the Freedom Rides. And it exposed the weakness of segregation laws because Jim Crow was no longer untouchable. Do you know what Jim Crow laws are?
Yeah, I'm aware.
I wasn't being a smartass because I remember talking about it, but I was like, what actually were the laws? Like, I didn't know what.
Yeah, I'm aware of that
Yeah.
time, but I don't think they ever went in depth. Like, they gave us a little
Yeah.
bit.
Essentially, it was just like the state and local laws that enforced segregation, like black and white people can't go to schools together. They can't sit together on the buses. They couldn't get married to black and white people, things like that. And yeah, I mean, that was really petty at its finest. I know they all were snatched from all that walking. I know that their savings accounts were looking better than they were before because they weren't shopping at them raggedy ass businesses downtown.
I know them feet been hurting, though.
Oh, yeah.
Them feet been hurting.
Yeah.
They probably needed some new loafers, but they had the money.
When I did my little walking challenge, when I tell you not just my feet, my ankles, my knees, everything was weak. Like,
I ain't gonna lie, though. They better than me. I don't know about the cold, man. Like, for one,
me and Nova skip a walk when it's cold.
One walk into work, like I'm headed somewhere where I have to ding work, but I walk. Nah, I don't know. If
Not even a job you probably enjoy.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd have made that.
Better than me, child. Well, let's get into the next thing. The Birmingham.
That was ultimate petty.
Very petty. A good clap back. So, the Birmingham Children's Crusade of 1963. Have you ever heard of that?
Have not.
No? I feel like you've probably seen pictures of it, but you maybe didn't know the name. So, the Birmingham Children's Crusade was a bold, strategic, and revolutionary act of black resistance that exposed the brutality of segregation and shook the nation. When adults faced retaliation for protesting, thousands of black children stepped up, marched, and took their fight for civil rights into their own hands. And what followed was one of the most unforgettable moments of the civil rights movement. There were fire hoses, police dogs, mass arrests, and a global reckoning with America's racist reality. So, I don't know if you remember that scene from Our Friend Martin where he went back in history and there's like the clips in black and white of like them spraying people with the fire hoses and like the police dogs. And in that movie, they talk about Bull Connor. That was this.
Okay.
So in 1963 in Birmingham, I don't know what the fuck it was about Alabama, but I know you won't ever catch me
I ain't
there.
gonna lie, I'm cool on it.
Yeah. Because everything was there.
Yeah.
It was one of the most racist and violently segregated cities in America, and it was nicknamed Birmingham because the KKK regularly bombed black homes, churches, and businesses. And so black people in Birmingham faced segregated schools, buses, and businesses. Most places wouldn't serve black customers at all. There was extreme voter suppression, brutal police violence, which was led by Eugene Bull fucking Connor.
Bull damn Connor.
Who the fuck gave him that name?
Like Bull Connor is the name.
Yeah. He was Birmingham's public safety commissioner who openly supported the KKK. And Dr. Martin Luther King, we talked about him earlier, and local activists had been protesting in Birmingham for months, but the progress was really slow. And so at some point there became some issues where like black people couldn't really risk protesting because they would lose their jobs or get arrested or face violence. And so they were thinking on it and they were like, what the fuck can we do? Because this isn't working and we need to do something else. And so they were like thinking how the movement needed something more bold to really get the nation's attention and force a change. And so civil rights leaders shifted their focus to young people, students who had less to lose and more to gain from integration. And this was led by James Bevel, a key strategist in the movement, and the plan was for black children and teenagers to march through Birmingham in protest. Would you send your kids out there?
At that time, nah.
No?
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah.
You never knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know if I could have did it.
Yeah. It says Dr. King initially had mixed feelings about putting children in danger, but ultimately they were the key to reigniting the movement. I'm sure they probably were like, oh, they're kids. Like, they're not going to harm kids.
That's what they would have thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Let's get some dates. So, on May 2nd, 1963, that was day one of the Children's Crusade. More than 1,000 black students, some as young as 6 years old, skipped school and... Yeah. Yeah.
God almighty. 6 protesting?
I love a bold 6-year-old.
Good God almighty.
Yeah.
I know they was hated when they went back to school.
It says they skipped school and gathered at the 16th Street Baptist Church, which was a movement hub in Birmingham. And in waves, groups of children walked out of church and marched downtown. And they sang songs like We Shall Overcome as they headed towards City Hall.
They was not singing that at 6.
Can you sing that song? I don't know.
We shall overcome. That's a real song. They sang that at my church.
I know it's a real song. Are you sure that's it?
That's the
Was
only
it in the
version I
hymnal?
know. Yeah, I think so.
Keep going so I can see if I can sing.
I don't know all the words. I gotta hum it so it come to me. My grandma used to lead the song though, for real, for real.
She was probably out on the front lines.
Someday. I might be lying. I know that's how I go, but I don't know if they said someday. Like we shall overcome someday. But I think that's how
I'll look it up and see if I can find the song. So in addition to their singing, they also carried signs that said, I want to go to school with white children and freedom now. I don't know why they was carrying that sign.
Especially around them times for what?
Yeah, like, I mean, I get what they were trying to do, but maybe Danielle then would have thought differently, but Danielle now is very confused on what was the excitement.
Yeah, you ain't sending your child out there with no sign saying that.
Absolutely not. So, anyways, within hours, Bull Big Fat Ass Connor. Wait, let me look. Is he? I think he is fat, if I remember correctly.
Sound like a large name.
Yeah.
It sound like a
Like,
large
why
name.
is that even your name? Yuck.
I don't know, Nova. I don't know.
Oh, like I said,
Big ass McConnell.
Bull Big Fat Ass Connor. LJ, look at his ass.
Yeah.
Anyways, from here on out, that's what we're calling him. Bull Big Fat Ass Connor, within hours, ordered police to start arresting the children. And by the end of the day, over 600 kids were in jail, filling up every cell in the city.
The end of the day.
The end of the... You have got to be kidding me. I cannot. Now, Nova, you ain't never thirsty no other time.
So you see what I'm saying? So last time she wanted to be itching. Now she want to be... she be doing it. She be doing this on purpose.
Showing off for the camera. I wish they could see you. Anyways. Yes, LJ, they filled up every cell in the city.
I do remember, like, I feel like I watched something, but it was like 6 and 7-year-old kids, like, in jail.
Mm-hmm. I feel like when I remember the footage, I don't think I remember or it registering in my head like that it was kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so on May 3rd, which was the next day, even more children showed up determined to keep marching. And guess what happened, LJ?
What the hell? They got locked up, too.
Listen, Bull Fat Ass Connor lost his damn mind. Frustrated that the arrests weren't stopping the march, Bull Fat Ass Connor ordered the...
Okay. You gotta put that in quotations.
I am. Yeah. LJ, be serious now. Okay. Bull Fat Ass Connor ordered the police to use high-powered fire hoses and attack dogs on the kids. The fire hoses were so powerful they ripped the clothes off of children's backs and slammed them against walls. And German shepherds lunged at students, biting them. Now, I just want you to put this in perspective. I have never seen a fire hose sprayed in person, but I know the amount of pressure that would have to come out of that to put out a fire. Mm-hmm. And one thing I don't fuck with is a German shepherd. Mm. One, because they are the ops. They're police dogs. And two, they are fucking vicious animals.
Very much so.
And I don't know how the hell that they were training the police dogs back then, because nowadays, like, well, I guess if the owner just gives them an order, they'll just attack someone even if they're not doing anything.
Probably so.
I know the mics are probably picking up
everything.
All types of shit. The ice machine's going off. The cars is outside. I do have the windows open though.
Yeah. That's overlit and probably getting picked up.
Yeah. It's alright, y'all. This is real and raw, ain't it? Anyways, black kids dodged the police dogs and kept marching. Them police dogs would have done it for me. I'm not even lying. I always used to say when I ran track, if they would have put a motherfucking dog behind me,
you'd have won everything.
I would have been in the air. I promise. How were they
dodging is crazy.
These people were strong. They kept marching. Even after being blasted by fire hose, they got back up and started singing.
We ain't got no willpower these days.
Yeah.
Them kids 6 years old.
Probably naked out there after getting sprayed by them,
and ran by a German shepherd.
It says that some of the protesters were chanting, "Let those dogs come. We ain't scared." Couldn't be me.
Nah, that's quoted. Like
yes, it couldn't have been me. So then, photos and videos of black children being attacked started showing up in the media. It went viral. Newspapers, magazines, and TV stations showed the violence to millions of people, and the images were so disturbing that people compared them to Nazi Germany.
I can believe it. I'm just picturing that goddamn water hose. That's all I'd have had to damn see.
What, to bust bull fat ass Connor upside the back of his head?
I need to see that water hose on his ass. See him run.
Yeah. It says President John F. Kennedy, who had been slow to support civil rights, was forced to take action. So between May 5th and the 9th, thousands of black adults and children kept marching, overwhelming Birmingham's police force. Over 2,500 black children were arrested, and the city could no longer contain the movement. Local businesses, already feeling the financial strain from boycotts, started pushing for an end to segregation. Also, honey, like, they said that the jails, like, filled up.
Yeah, I can believe it. They arresting 6,000 people in a day.
Yeah. So by May 10th, Birmingham officials agreed to desegregate businesses, hire more black workers, and release the jailed protesters. So the children won.
It's effective. It's an effective method.
Yeah. So in this whole movement pushed John F. Kennedy to basically publicly support the civil rights movement. It showed that young people could be powerful leaders in the movement, and it also set the stage for the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
That's so beautiful. That is so beautiful.
They really underestimated them black kids, didn't they?
The kids, though. The kids.
The moral of the story is here. Don't be a police, first of all. But second of all, don't be bull fat ass Connor.
Fat ass Connor.
Imagine being his family member.
Bull
and having that legacy.
And watching your video.
And hear me call your grandfather bull fat ass Connor.
Bull fat ass.
And I mean it with my whole chest.
Mm-hmm.
That's his name, and that's what you should call him too if it's your fucking grandfather.
That's really crazy that it's always a money thing, though.
Like, that gets people to be like, okay, fuck, just let them integrate shit.
Yeah, like it's always about the money, man. That's fucking terrible.
Insane. You ready to move on to the next one?
Hell yeah.
Have you ever heard of the Deacons for Defense and Justice?
No, I have not.
These are my kind of people.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Okay. Enlighten me.
These are my kind of people. So when we talk about the civil rights movement, when I tell you these are my kind of people,
I know you got the smile you just had. I know it's going to be something so petty.
Listen, it's actually not even that petty. It's like my kind of people.
Okay.
Okay, so you know our history books love to highlight the peaceful protests, the sit-ins, and the nonviolence resistance. Mm-hmm. But what often gets left out in the But what often gets left out is the armed black resistance that protected activists from violent white supremacists. Enter the chat, the Deacons of Defense and Justice.
That do sound kind of badass, though. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. It was a militia, community-led group of black men who said, "Enough is fucking enough, you fucking KKK bastards." They didn't say that, but that's what I would have said. And they armed themselves to defend black communities and civil rights activists from KKK violence. And their story is one of self-defense, strategic resistance, and a direct challenge to white supremacists that were essentially terrorists as far as I'm concerned. And so in the early 1960s, the civil rights movement was in full swing, but so was violent retaliation from white supremacists. Black activists were being beaten, bombed, and murdered for fighting for their rights. And the KKK, police, and racist vigilantes operated freely, often attacking marchers and organizers without any type of consequences. And so law enforcement either stood by or they actively participated in the violence because they were a part of the KKK. But anyway, just made me lose my train of thought. So essentially, the Deacon said, all this nonviolent shit, all this peaceful shit you got going on, Martin, We ain't with it.
Yeah, we got
This cute. This was cute and all for the photos and the media and all that shit. You let them kids get, sprayed up.
Yeah, we ain't going.
Yeah, this peaceful shit ain't working.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have worked for me either. Because peaceful protesters were attacked in broad daylight, civil rights workers were disappearing and turning up dead, and the federal government refused to intervene. And so, I should have looked up how to pronounce this. Bogalusa, Louisiana?
We're going to go with that.
Yeah, in 1964. Mm-hmm. So Louisiana was one of the most KKK-infested states in the South. The Klan was especially violent in Bogalusa, and black residents were under constant attack.
It rolled off your tongue the second time.
It did, didn't it?
Right.
It sounded right. But the way I was pronouncing stuff last time, who knows? Who knows? Local activists tried nonviolent tactics, but the white supremacists only escalated their terror. So they were like,
all right, we're going to match y'all.
Yeah, well, no, they were like, oh, so y'all want to be nonviolent? Let's turn this up a little. So fed up, a group of black men decided to take matters into their own hands. And just like that, the Deacons for Defense and Justice was born. So the Deacons were a group of black military veterans and working class men, and many of them were World War II and Korean War veterans who knew how to handle firearms. And they believed in self-defense, not aggression, but they were not afraid to shoot back if necessary.
Yeah, we'll take it there if we have to.
Yeah, sounds like a plan to me. And so their mission was to protect black communities and civil rights activists by any means necessary. So the Deacons trained black men to use firearms, and they formed self-defense patrols. And some of their tactics and strategies were armed patrols. So they drove around neighborhoods to essentially protect against KKK attacks. And they also did escort duty. So they protected civil rights activists as they marched and registered black voters. And they also did night watches. So they stood guard outside black homes and churches to prevent nighttime KKK raids. And they openly carried shotguns and rifles to let racists know that violence would be met with violence. Period.
I think that's how, like, gangs came about, for real.
LJ.
I'm serious.
Stop spreading rumors. Not from the Deacons.
Nah, but, like...
Because theirs was for a reason.
I'm saying, but gangs, we'll talk about it later.
Okay. But basically, their slogan should have been "fuck around and find out."
Because they found out, and they wasn't fucking around.
Yeah. So the Deacons didn't go looking for trouble, but if the Klan rolled up, there would be consequences. And so the KKK. I've got to get my shit together. Maybe I need some water. Hold on.
KK Quay is crazy.
You're so immature, because it could not have been that funny. Look how Nova's looking at you.
KK Quay.
Listen, so the KKK quickly realized that attacking black people in Deacon-protected areas was dangerous. In Bogalusa and Jonesboro, Louisiana, the Klan stopped their usual night raids after realizing the Deacons were armed and ready.
All right, press pause. Because I don't know if this still going. If it go black, it's still recording.
No, what do you mean if it goes...
It just went black. But I don't know if it died. It ain't say nothing.
LJ, were you even... LJ...
Oh, it said battery exhausted.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you wasn't recording. Okay, so the KKK quickly realized that attacking black people in Deacon-protected areas was dangerous. And in Bogalusa and Jonesboro, Louisiana, the Klan stopped their usual night raids after realizing the Deacons were armed and ready. There were multiple shootouts between the Deacons and the white supremacists, and the police, who were often Klan members themselves, were furious but found themselves outgunned.
I know they've been
That sounds like a fucking plan to me.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yep. So once obviously that the deacons were in place and people fucked around and found out, I just keep losing my train of thought because I feel like I'm on a time crunch.
Yeah.
Anyways, so no, this is more about like how the Deacons changed the civil rights movement. And so before the Deacons, the federal law enforcement ignored the KKK's violence, but once black people started arming themselves, then the government got a little nervous. And the FBI was forced to step in and monitor the Klan's activity, not because they cared about black people, but because they feared.
They were scared.
Oh yeah, they were like,
scared.
okay, if they
Yeah.
get more guns,
Yeah.
it's about to be some problems.
Yeah, scared as shit.
Yeah. Good for the Deacons. They were essentially like the blueprint for black armed resistance, and obviously just a few later the Black Panther Party used similar strategies, armed patrol, self-defense, and community protection. And I also looked up because I was like, I wonder if they're still in place. They no longer exist as an active organization. They were largely dissolved by the early 1970s as the civil rights movement shifted and the need for armed self-defense groups decreased with the passage of major civil rights legislation. Yeah, so they got rid of them. But there are, I was looking it up because I was like, are there similar organizations that still exist? There is a few. So the Huey P. Newton Gun Club, which is a Texas-based club inspired by the Black Panthers. The Not Fing Around Coalition. Oh, wait. Did my research try to... I think it's not effing around.
Man, get out of here.
The NFAC is a black... Wait. Hold on. I said the not fing, but I think it's effing. Not fucking around. Like, I think
Like,
the article I read was trying to like censor it.
Not fucking around is crazy.
I have the Yeah. Plot twist. It's the Not Fucking Around Coalition. Not fucking around. The NFAC is a black militia group that advocates for armed black self-defense, and the new Black Panther Party, which is a controversial group with some ties to the original Panthers and the Deacons. So good for them. Bring back the Deacons.
Not fucking around.
Period.
Coalition.
If you want to know...
I love us so much, man.
Yeah, good for them. And then they made an acronym.
Not what you said.
How do I join?
I don't know, but I support. Not it.
You support me being in the NFAC?
Hell yeah, we can go do that.
It says the Not Fucking Around Coalition is a black nationalist militia, part of the militia movement in the United States. The group advocates for black liberation and separate... I really am starting to think I can't read.
You got this.
It has been described by news outlets as a black militia. It denies any connection to the Black Panther Party or Black Lives Matter. The leader is John Fitzgerald Johnson. And it was established to protect, self-police, and educate black communities on firearms and their constitutional rights. Good. How do I join?
Not Fucking Around. By John Fitzgerald Johnson.
You have such a good memory.
I'm finna join. We finna be in
It seems like it's like, I can't find... Oh, here they are. Ooh, you want to hear what the rules are? 1, you must be black. That's number 1. You must be 18 years or older. You must already own an AR platform rifle. I don't got no. You must have a carry concealed permit or be eligible to get one. You cannot be ex-law enforcement because fuck the police. You cannot be an ex-correctional officer, because also fuck the police. Ex-military preferred. Oh, I'm not ex-military.
They say you gotta have an AR to join. That's nuts.
I know. I don't know. I don't think I want one of those.
It'd be useful.
Because a little Glock scares me. Seriously.
How you gonna be part of not fucking around
And be scared? That is true. Oh my gosh. I just feel like maybe I could help in some other way. Like maybe I could be like director of operations for the NFAC.
What was buddy name?
John Fitzgerald.
The one who like organized the boycotts and stuff.
Byard?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I would be him. Exactly. Wait, are they the ones with that flag that has like, it's like green, red, and black? See that?
That's not fucking round.
That's what's on their website.
They just adopted it.
I'm going to watch this video. So you want to join the NFAC. Oh, I just don't know if I'm going to make it. There's training. It's probably fucking hardcore. Ain't it?
Well, if they prefer ex-military.
They have a master plan. Okay, let me stop fucking around like this camera got all the time in the world.
You finna fuck around and find out.
Okay, so the last one I wanted to talk about was one that is more modern day. And that is Colin Kaepernick. Because I just couldn't leave this one out. I have already told you I'm never getting over how this story transpired. I'm never getting over it. I will never fucking forgive the black athletes, the black people, the fucking white people who acted like he was goddamn bombing the football field. I'm never getting over it. So let's get into it. For the people who don't know this story, Colin Kaepernick was a quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. And on August 26, 2016, he was spotted sitting on the bench during the national anthem. And at first it went unnoticed. And then on August 27th, he was questioned by the media, and Colin said, "I'm not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color." And so, yeah, so Kaepernick met with former Green Beret and NFL player Nate Boyer, who suggested that instead of sitting, he should kneel. This was on September 1st. As kneeling is a sign of respect, like in the military or at funerals. Kaepernick took a knee for the first time during the anthem, and his teammate Eric Reed joined him, turning it into a movement. On September 11th, other NFL players began kneeling, raising fists, or locking arms in solidarity. Then there was a white soccer player who also took a knee in support. In October of 2016, Kaepernick pledged to donate $1 million to organizations fighting racial justice, and he kept taking a knee at every game despite mounting criticism. And by March of 2017, Colin Kaepernick is blackballed from the NFL. He became a free agent, but no team would sign him, and it was obviously a clear retaliation for his activism. The NFL denied that it was collusion, but it was obvious because teams were punishing him for protesting. And some kneeling players got quiet when it became clear that the NFL would blackball those who kept the pressure on. Now, LJ, I know that you were well and alive in 2016. What were your thoughts at the time?
Well, one, I thought it was cool as fuck to see like that come from him. Like literally just one act cause a whole bunch of shit to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, I don't know, I think niggas should have got behind him more. Like just everybody should have just stood with bro.
Agreed.
Because imagine like what could have happened.
Because, yeah, as we've seen from these other movements, if all of the black players in the NFL would have protested, the NFL would not exist. Because the NFL only exists because of black players.
Mm-hmm.
That's that. So, anyways, there was obviously a lot of backlash. The white fans and politicians lost their fucking minds like bull fucking fat ass Connor. And people started burning his jerseys, calling him unpatriotic. They claimed he was disrespecting the troops. And Donald, God, I cannot continue to give this man a fucking platform on this podcast. But he got involved, calling protesting players sons of bitches and saying they should be fired. Imagine if they all got fired, Donald. Anyways, and the NFL banned protests during the anthem in 2018, forcing players to stand. And obviously, police brutality continued at this time, which was the very thing that kind of kicked off this whole protest. And the white people were essentially outraged because why? I don't know. Like, it was a very peaceful protest, and they were more mad about the protest than they were about the fucking police that were on a manhunt for black people in the streets all over the United States. And even though there was a lot of backlash, he kept doing it. And then there was also like high school teams, college athletes, and even entire sports teams that took a knee in solidarity. So the NBA and the WNBA players spoke out and they followed suit, as well as international soccer players and Olympians who kneeled or raised a fist. So in 2020, when George Floyd was murdered, everyone started kneeling, even some of the same people who criticized Colin before. And then the NFL suddenly tried to act supportive, but at that point, we already knew where they stood.
They still ain't get my nigga no job.
Yeah, it says that they gave hush money, so $89 million to the Players Coalition to redirect the protests from kneeling to community programs. And so Colin, he fucking kneeled alone for years, but in 2020, then the entire world followed in his lead. At that point, he'd already been blackballed from the NFL. He lost his career, and there were so many other like black players that didn't get behind him, but the level of support, essentially, it just varied, and not everyone that did it faced the same consequences as Colin Kaepernick. Some players even stopped kneeling after the deal to the Players Coalition, and the league marketed social justice efforts to make it seem like they cared while still blackballing Kaepernick. The same thing that every other fucking business did in 2020, the same ones that are now pulling back their DEI programs and their commitments to social justice, and fuck them. Anyways, oh my God, this stuff just gets my blood pressure up so high. Anyways, so even without a team, I think that he kind of won. I there's nothing more than I respect than a person who fucking stands on what they believe in, no matter the consequences. Like, if you fold because of the consequences, everything you did doesn't even matter, because you really didn't stand on that. You didn't really believe in that. And I think I feel so strongly about it because I just know my time is coming. Like, I know that's going to be probably what happens to me, because I just wouldn't fold. Or at least I would like to think that I wouldn't fold.
Yeah, but
It's hard.
It's power in that, though.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure it's hard when you're making a decision between your career and standing up for what you believe in. But when I think about it, like, if I think about my career now, my job, I wouldn't even be able to, if I folded and just stopped doing whatever I believed in, I wouldn't even be able to show up at work and look at those fucking people in the face and like still do my job. Like, I would have to take the L. I would have to take the L. And then I would just expose them online.
Respect. Yeah.
And just for legal purposes, I'm not talking about my current job. I would not expose them online.
But they should have got behind, bro. I get upset about that shit too. Just looking at the power it could have had if niggas just like, we ain't playing.
I just feel like they didn't have someone to step up and be like the organizer. Like, because Colin, he did it, but he wasn't like pressuring other people. He just did it.
It wasn't really.
Yeah, there needed to be someone to remind them, like, hey, if you guys all do this, they can't take all of you to court. You all can't lose your job because the fucking NFL won't. I don't know how that didn't click to any of them, but it's like the NFL had more to lose than what they did. The NFL couldn't have ran without them. So the college football teams couldn't have ran without them. The NBA couldn't have. Like, all of these major sports teams could not exist without these black people, so they could have supported and been fine.
Yeah, and even like on a collegiate level, I'm thinking if it got that far and they was just like, we ain't playing college ball, we ain't playing in the NFL, we ain't playing in the NBA, we ain't nothing. Like,
It would have been over.
yeah,
It
and
would have been
probably
over.
fast, like very fast.
Very fast. Because one game, they would have.
Right.
Anyway, so Colin never got his NFL career back, even though he tried multiple times. Since his last game in January of 2017, he has remained unsigned by any team, and his career was effectively ended by the league for protesting police brutality. Imagine being the people who ended his career because he wanted police to stop killing black people. Like,
Yeah.
they literally proved his original point. So in 2019, he did reach a confidential settlement with the NFL, and it was rumored to be around 10 million. I would have took them for. I would have said no. I would have took
10
them for
million?
everything. However, he did continue to thrive outside of football, and he has stayed active in social justice work, media, and business ventures. So good for Colin. And honestly, everyone who didn't stand behind him should be ashamed. I'll never forget when the world was fucking going insane. Like
Like he really did the worst thing ever in life.
insane. Well, honey, unfortunately, we have to cut this episode short because the camera is really about to give out and I just have nothing left to give to it. And so, thanks for joining me.
And we made it through. Despite all the adversity, you know how they did in their time. They made
Period.
It through.
Kept pushing.
That's all.
Yes.
That's all.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, tell the people where they can find the podcast. Like, do my little spiel.
So.
Wait, no, you need to say, thanks, guys, for watching.
Thanks, guys, for watching.
Honey, microphone.
You
have.
I ain't used to this part now.
So you're gonna say, okay, guys, thanks for watching another episode of Subjective. Follow us on Instagram at the Subjective Pod, and you can listen wherever you get your podcast. That's Apple, Spotify, or iHeartMedia, Amazon Music. That's what you have to say.
All that, huh?
Yes, because
I appreciate y'all for watching. You know what I'm saying? Y'all can find this on all y'all social media platforms at the Subjective Pod. You can also listen to this on Apple Podcasts. What is it? Spotify.
Amazon Music. iHeartRadio.
That's the one I like. iHeartRadio. And what else?
Wherever you get your podcast.
Wherever you get your podcast. You had some new shit the other day though, like that you put the deleted scenes on. What was that?
Oh, my Substack.
Yeah,
but I talked about that in my intro.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
You did amazing, sweetie. Tell them where they can find you.
Y'all can find me everywhere. Inspirational media. Y'all know how to spell inspirational. Just put Lynn, Lyn in front, and y'all will find me.
Period. And I will tag it in the show notes because y'all need him to be your cameraman. Period.
Boom.
Thank you, honey.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime.
I'm ready for my snack again. So.
Kiss, kiss.
That was cute as fuck. All right, we got it.